Thank you and good afternoon. Yes, my name is Matt Marino. I lead sales for Global Payments. As our company name implies, we are a global payments technology company helping merchants transact all over the world. We're roughly 24,000 employees in about 30 different countries. And yes, kudos to the GDS team for this location. It's awesome. I've been in Mexico for less than 24 hours. I've had my fill of coronavirus jokes, so I'll spare you my stand-up routine, and we'll dive right into it. Really, for this session, I've got about 30 minutes of prepared content, and the final 10 minutes, I'm really keen to hear from all of you what specifically has been most valuable for your reps when it comes to technology and the tech stack, not only for management, but for the reps themselves. Again, I'll be able to share what I've found useful from the teams that I've managed, the people that I've coached. I'm sure I'll leave some things out. We don't have time to get into everything, but this is really a snapshot of really like the most important tools that I find critical for any sales organization, depending on the stage that you're in. So part of what makes our job so hard as sales leaders is picking the right tools in the first place. Right? There are thousands of different solutions that are available that all claim to improve sales effectiveness. And this sort of tyranny of choice is troublesome as business owners, but we face it every day as consumers as well. I mean, there's something like we see 10,000 brand logos a day. And so even as consumers, we feel this paralysis of choice. And what better example than to talk about jam? So I'm from the Bay Area. This is Draeger's. They are one of the most high-end supermarkets in the San Francisco Bay Area, near the Stanford campus, actually. And at Draeger's, you can go in and choose from over 100 different types of jam. Apricot jam, strawberry jam, grape jam, strawberry and grape jam, organic jam. And two Stanford psychologists were perplexed by this. And they're wondering, why would a store like this sell so many different types of jam? And how does it affect buying decisions? And so they set up two pretty simple experiments. They had a table of 6 different types of jam, and they had a table of 24 types of jam for people to try. And they looked at first which groups of people were attracted to the tables, the people who were walking in the store. Of the tables that had 6 types of jam, it was around 40%. The tables that had 24 types of jam, it was 60%. So more people are attracted to the options, to the varieties. But then, and sort of most importantly for the jam companies, who actually bought the jam? The table that had 24 types, 3% ended up saying, yep, I want to buy this jam. The table that had 6, it was 30%. And they did this for several weeks, and the results kind of validated themselves. But again, it gets back to the idea that if we narrow the amount of choices that we have, we're able to kind of more effectively make decisions, particularly when it comes to purchasing, which makes this so overwhelming and nauseating. But nonetheless, we still have a job to do. Right? I think Terry or someone earlier showed that the far majority of sales reps last year missed quota, or at best it was like 50%. So it's not like all of a sudden 80% of sales teams are making their quota or are dramatically more efficient. But not only that, I mean, the stats from CEB show that sales in general is still the highest turnover profession in business, with an overwhelming majority of that turnover happening for those folks who are new to the game. So for your SDRs or your beginning entry-level AEs, they're going to turn over quite a bit compared to folks who have been in it quite some time. But nonetheless, you should all be expecting that a third of your sales force is going to be turning over every year. So you couple that with the fact that the average executive is only in the position for 2 to 3 years, means that roughly 40% of your pipeline is always going to be at risk in some capacity. You have rep turnover, you have key contacts at your prospects who are turning over. But probably the most alarming thing for all of us is this figure here. And that is that the average tenure for a VP of sales or CRO has dropped to under 2 years to just 16 months. So while you can afford to have one bad year, you can't afford to have 2. And of course, as sales leaders, one of the key parts of our jobs, in addition to running towards a scoreboard and making numbers, is developing process, right? We run towards process, we build process. That's something that we're not afraid of because the right process should yield over time the right results. And that process is going to vary slightly based on where you are as an organization, the size of your company, and particularly the size and maturity of your sales organization. And this is oh gosh, those colors didn't come out too well, but effectively this shows that a kind of a less mature new sales organization, the first thing they're going to start with is implementing a CRM, like Salesforce or HubSpot. They're going to focus on efficiency tools for the reps, building on that, effectiveness tools like with sales training, ways of managing content and collateral, and then kind of as they get more and more mature, very prescriptive tools that help their unique use case, their sales organization, their marketing organization. And if we kind of look at Jeffrey Moore's seminal work on crossing the chasm, there's this idea that technology all has this stage of like early adopters and then a chasm before it reaches mass adoption or mass usage. And so I would put a tool like Salesforce in this majority, where nowadays, if you don't have some type of CRM, you are far and away the minority. So for the purpose of this presentation today, I'm going to lump the tech tools into what I'm going to call an essential category, meaning if you don't have this, you probably shouldn't be here. Early adopters, so those companies who are really in growth mode. And then what I see is really like the cutting edge solutions that the most modern, advanced sales organizations are leveraging. So let's start first with some of these essential ones. So is there a way to turn up the contrast or turn down the contrast? But anyway, Salesforce is far and away, or any CRM is far and away the kind of the benchmark and cornerstone application that any modern sales organization needs. Your reps need a way of managing leads, opportunities, and accounts. You need it for managing pipeline and forecast. This is single-handedly, I've seen, the most painful experience for reps. When we talk about what has helped and what has hurt them, a poor deployment of Salesforce is going to wreak havoc with your sales team because it's going to breed resentment of the tool, it's going to breed resentment of you and management, and unfortunately it's going to breed resentment of sales. And so my biggest piece of advice with Salesforce is when you go to configure it, don't look at it solely from the lens of what does management need, but look at it through the lens of what is going to be most helpful for my sales team. What are the fields that are most valuable for them? What is the workflow? How can I automate as much of this stuff as possible? And then behind the scenes, you can pull the data, the detail that you need for forecasting and reporting. The next one is Slack, right? Reps need a way of communicating with their team members in real time, all the time. And so you need to have some type of instant messaging within your company. Whether it's Slack or Google Chat, something that allows team members to collaborate individually, but also in groups. And services like this are great because the rooms or group keeps a history of all of the discussions. And so this is especially important for new folks who are joining an organization because they could join a channel on, I don't know, sales development or product or competitors and read through what people have posted in the past. So it's one of the fastest ways of kind of getting up to speed. And especially for remote workers, this is just yet another way of building camaraderie and real-time interactions that email just doesn't really solve for. Next up is LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So of course there's LinkedIn, and then you pay for LinkedIn Sales Navigator. LinkedIn Sales Navigator allows your reps to more effectively prospect. And so you literally like go into the search screen and put in the company that you're looking for, or the title, or the size of the business, or the region. There's all these great different parameters that they can search by. And it'll spit out exactly, unfortunately the contrast is a little white here, but it'll spit out all of the relevant contacts. And then those reps, whether they are SDRs or AEs, can send what's called an in-mail to those people. So I'm sure as sales leaders, you guys get these all the time from SDRs saying, hey, can you, hop on a call with me, or I want to show you something. But effectively, this is an outreach mechanism that allows them to kind of reach out cold to a contact. And we find in particular that prospects are much more able and willing to respond over in-mail than they are to pick up a cold call or respond to a cold email. The other nice thing about Sales Navigator is you can follow the company. And what that does is then any sort of major news or updates or announcement or new hire, the rep gets notified on. So it's a great way, whether you're in new business sales or account management, for keeping track on the accounts that matter to you. Reps also need a way of managing documents in a shared and collaborative environment. And so we find Google Drive to be highly effective at doing that. We used Microsoft SharePoint for a while. That was a complete disaster. Moving to Google has just been great because it's fast, it's super easy, and the sharing function is great. So not only can you create folders for documents, but as probably all of you know, you can create like sheets or Word documents effectively that allows people to collaborate in real time. So whether it's a proposal or a, I don't know, like a detailed spreadsheet running through a cost analysis, it allows for real-time collaboration, which is awesome, as well as a repository for those reps to store documents and then for other team members to view those. I mean, kind of gone are the days where reps would have a bunch of documents saved locally on their hard drive. I mean, everything nowadays is shared in some sort of site where others have access. In part because there are so many people involved in a sale, right? There's sales engineers, there's marketers, there's finance, there's management, so forth. I've found that when we tried to get our reps to use Salesforce for notes, it did not go over well at all. Note-taking, of course, is very important during a meeting, during a call, just in general. And for us, having to log into Salesforce and keying in a note was just too laborious of an action. And so what we found is Evernote is great because it's real time, whether you're on your mobile device, on your desktop. It works in both online and offline mode, so you don't need to be connected to the internet to access it. But what's great is you can easily import photos, so if you're somewhere and you want to snap a picture of something, as well as for those of you who have team members who like to actually take notes with a stylus, you can take those notes or draw images and put it directly as a note. And the reps can choose to share those notes. They even have a plugin with Salesforce so that at the opportunity record or at the account record, those notes can be consumed as well. So Evernote's great, love it, and I think their license, it's super cheap. It's like less than $5 a month for access to it. So we find it really, really helpful. And then the last one on the essential capabilities, it's funny how much money we spend in training and salaries and commissions, and how little money we spend into the actual communication technology that our reps use day in and day out. I've got a large percentage of people on my team who are remote, and so having crystal clear communication and crystal clear video quality is extremely important. And so, what the headset that I've found to be most effective is this Jabra Evolve 75. And what I really like about it is, A, it's wireless. So I've got a lot of people who will pace back and forth when they're on calls because it feels that they can, work their mojo better. So that allows them to be mobile. It also allows them to connect to their phone, a computer, or an actual physical headset, and so they can switch based on how they want to dial. And probably the most important thing is it provides noise canceling capabilities for the rep as well as for the person who's on the other end of the phone. I can't tell you how many times it's frustrating when I get on a call with an SDR and they're talking and I just hear like 50 people behind them blabbering away. And so these are great because, again, it provides noise canceling to both parties. And it's also cool too because it's got this like it's got multiple lights on the bottom. So if you are operating in a big call center type environment, people can see, oh, hey, Matt's on the phone. Don't tap his shoulder or throw something at him. Like leave him alone. So nonetheless, it's worth the investment in proper telephony as well as high def webcam for those folks that you have on your team. Okay, so those are the essential ones. Now I'm going to talk about kind of what's kind of like the next level beyond that. What would I consider kind of the growth tools that really help accelerate sales? So first is a solution by Outreach.io. So their initial solution started as a way to improve all of the mass automation that would come with sending out emails to prospects. So with this application, you can create very specific cadences for your sales development, for your AE teams, even for account management, so that when you have a new lead in the system, you can keep track of exactly when you should call them and when you should email them. But the solution is a lot more than that. It actually allows you to load the emails with the right sort of rich text so that you like literally just hit go, and it'll take the data from Salesforce and send them out on your behalf. And the great thing is it provides all of the insight analytics that a rep wants to know. A rep wants to know, has someone opened my email? Have they forwarded my email? How long did they read my email? All of those characteristics which gives them insight into the level of engagement that a prospect is going to have. And so Outreach does this. There's other solutions that are out there. We found their interface very clean. This is highly important as well because then they can iterate and improve upon the emails that they're sending out. Because if I'm sending, I don't know, say an email cadence of 7 emails to a cold prospect, and I see one has an open rate of 2% and another has an open rate of 14%, I'm going to want to know what that one with 14% is that makes it so much better. Is it the subject line? Is it the text in the email? Is it an image? What was it? And it also allows the other team members to kind of use it as like kind of friendly competition to see who has the highest open rates and reply rates and things like that. Next up would be Gong. So especially for those of you who are in environments that are where people are on the phone a lot, Gong is great because it provides all of this fantastic AI which allows the rep as well as the manager to analyze the calls that are being had. And so what I mean by that is after you have a call, it will show exactly, for example, how much the rep was talking and how much the client was talking. And again, apologize on this stuff not coming through very well, but it'll actually pick up on key words that are spoken. So for example, if the client uses competitors, or if you use the word competitors, it'll flag that, and it'll flag other words around that. And so you can actually start to compare over a really big database the quality of calls that are being had, the duration that they are, the ratio of talk time that your reps are having, the actual language that's being used, and most importantly, are the calls then yielding another meeting or a closed opportunity? So especially for maybe more junior reps or kind of high velocity sales organization, Gong is fantastic. And I think once a company reaches a certain size, and particularly once a sales organization reaches a particular size, finding a consistent way of managing all of that content becomes really, really important. I think you can only manage so many hierarchy of folders on a Google Drive, for example, before it becomes really untenable for management. So a solution like HighSpot is great because they ensure that, and there's other providers like them, that, that reps have access to the right information at the right time and for the right buying persona. And because oftentimes they won't know which marketing deck to use or which email script to use. And so again, their solution is kind of embedded directly within your sales process and directly within Salesforce, and it learns over time. So it'll know that, hey, you are at stage 3 of a new business opportunity, and it's this type of client, and they're requesting these types of services. You should probably consider this marketing asset, or you should probably send them this case study, or you should probably use this reference to talk to. And so it's a platform unto itself, again, largely for, I would say, organizations that have sales teams kind of well over 100 people, where they're dispersed and you're really looking for a consistency of knowledge. And for where they want to know, hey, like, what do I use in my sales play? A solution like HighSpot's great. Calendly is awesome as well. I'm sure you all have seen a solution like this, or like Chili Piper, most largely used by inside sales teams where they are scheduling lots of meetings. And it's a pain to schedule, and send in emails, hey, like, I'm free at Tuesday at 9:30, does that work for you? No, how about Wednesday? What this does is it actually allows a prospect to view the availability of the rep's calendar and just pick a time. That's all it does. Super simple, but it makes scheduling appointments that much faster. Intercom is a kind of like a sophisticated chat bot. Again, also largely for organizations that have, generally I'd say, a lower ACV or kind of a greater inside sales presence, where instead of having all of your SDRs kind of fielding every single inbound inquiry, doing that qualification up front via chatbot is super easy. Just having someone type in where they're located, how big the business is. Of course, the technology can learn upon itself and actually start getting really predictive with starting to recommend certain solutions. But Intercom has been super great for improving efficiencies. And sales reps like it because it means they are not spending time talking to unqualified candidates. And then I think last one here on the growth category is RFP.io. So those of you who manage enterprise sales teams, it amazes me how few companies actually have a process for responding to RFPs. I hate RFPs, I hate responding to RFPs. It's like pouring acid on the soul, but they're required. And so a solution like RFP.io is great because it all of a sudden creates a framework for how RFPs get responded to. It allows the owner or series of owners to assign sections. And kind of the brilliant part of it is it'll actually comb your database and it'll look for similar answers from similar questions and just pre-populate it with what is most current. So again, getting back to how do you improve the efficiency for sales reps, a tool like this is awesome because again, it takes probably at least 50% of all of the questions like how big is your company, where are you located, show me your financials, and populates that, and then allows the sales or sales engineering functions to prioritize and manage the rest of the responses. All right, and then last section is on the services that I'd consider cutting edge, bleeding edge, that maybe aren't as highly adopted, but what I've used or what my team has used and what I've found to be highly effective. So the first is Bombora. Any of you use Bombora here? Awesome. So Bombora is a intent-based marketing application that uses a whole bunch of like meta crawlers out on the web to really come to understand from your buyers their intent before they actually call you up and say, hey, I want to talk to a sales rep. So there's a whole lot of leading indicators that, that we can receive based on if someone might be considering purchasing something. So it could be what things they're Googling, the questions they're asking on a forum, their activity on LinkedIn, what trade shows they're attending. There's a list of things here. And so they have some really sophisticated technology that can comb out and say, hey, it looks like XYZ company has been researching payments. You should go talk to them. And this is great because, again, from a salesperson standpoint, we want to start influencing them before they start talking to providers. Because I think, as we all know, by the time they actually pick up the phone and want to talk to someone, it's largely too late. They've already kind of made up their mind on what they need and have already whittled it down to a list of providers. So Bombora is likely a solution purchased by marketing, but it's highly impactful for sales teams. The other is DataHug, and again, apologize on the image here. But DataHug I've found to be probably one of the most effective tools for both sales and sales management. So what this does is it measures engagement within a sales team. And so it's an application that sits on top of your email and calendar client and does a very simple thing. It just looks at what are the emails you've sent, what are the emails you've received from a particular client, and what are the calendar appointments that have been sent and received. And the idea is that generally, a more engaged buyer and a more multi-threaded buyer has a higher likelihood of buying. All of a sudden then becomes very clear to the salesperson or sales manager the quality of the opportunity. So for example, if you have a rep who is only engaged with 2 clients and has sent 5 emails and they think it's going to close tomorrow, that may not be as accurate compared to a rep who is talking to 8 different people, have had 50 email communications, 4 meetings, and so on. And what's great is you can actually benchmark the number of emails, the number of meetings that it typically takes within your average sales cycle. So check them out. I think maybe the folks from Clary are here, very similar type of application. And it's great because the reps don't have to do anything. It sits on top of the email client, and it just logs the stuff within Salesforce. Sendoso, it's funny. Like, I'm sure, like as many of you, I get contacted by an SDR on LinkedIn or email at least once a day. In the last year, I've received 1 piece of direct mail from a company. And I think we're starting to see, hopefully, a shift of more businesses using direct mail as a way of getting attention. And what's great about Sendoso is you can send little gifts and items to your prospects and clients. And they can be company branded, they can be uncompany branded, but you can really tailor it to the buyer persona. So I had a guy once who, he knew that one of his prospects was just going to run like the New York Marathon. And so he sent him a little gift box of like some socks and some gels and a water bottle and things like that. And said, good luck on the race. It cost like $30, but it was different. Like our competitors aren't doing that. And an application like this, like the rep isn't having to go to FedEx and go to the store and box a bunch of stuff. They just use Sendoso, pick the categories, and put in the address, and off it went. So I think Reali is awesome. So much of the time when we are giving demos and presentations, we have no way of knowing who's actually paying attention, right? Who's actually like looking at the demo compared to who minimizes the screen or has another tab open or doing multitasking. And so what a solution like this does is it actually gauges buyer engagement on where their eyes are. And you can even plug it in to look at how engaged they are with whatever it is you are showing. So if you are doing a demo on Zoom or WebEx or Google Hangouts, and they overlay that image with their email, they're probably not engaged or they're probably not paying attention. And similarly, if you are releasing a new product or service and you want to know kind of what is most interesting, kind of where are people looking, a solution like Reali can be really helpful. And then my last one, I love this. So I've got, we have a big proportion of our team is remote. And probably like many of you, you probably have some coworkers or some reps who don't like to turn on their webcam out of whatever reason. Maybe it's they're in their bedroom or they're in their basement or something like that. But as we all know, like the single biggest way of driving sales engagement for remote employees is being on video. Right? It's the single biggest way to drive connection, measure their awareness, making sure they're not in their pajamas. And so this is like a $150 green screen that they can put behind their chair, roll up when they're on a video call, and this is sort of a silly example, but if you've got like a dirty bed or couch behind you, you can all of a sudden project whatever you want behind you in a very transparent way. And so like the most impactful way of doing this is just making it look as if you're in an office or you're at a coffee shop or you're at some place nice. Of course, you can have some fun with it and make you look like you're in front of a Christmas tree and a fireplace. But I've found this is one great way to engage remote employees. And so Elgato is the green screen, and ManyCam is just the software that helps allow the reps to display an image. All right, so wrapping up here, kind of some final thoughts. First and foremost, yes, it can be overwhelming which technologies you choose to adopt. And what's right for you is largely going to be a function based on how big your company is, how big your sales team is, whether you're kind of a fast sales velocity, low sales velocity, and also your team's capacity for change, right? It's unfair for everyone to dump 10 new pieces of software onto them and expect them to use it. And also get the reps involved early in your decision-making process, right? What better way for them to learn from you about what you think is going to make them more successful than involving them? Have them review some RFPs, have them sit in on some of the demos, see how other reps are pitching. This not only allows them to learn from you as a manager, but it allows them to gain perhaps greater appreciation and ultimately adoption of the service when you get it. And then last one, treat adoption like any other change initiative. Like what you choose to put forth is new, and it's going to be different. And like any sort of change, it's the ultimate impact of change is not going to come from treating it as a single event, but really a series of very intentional steps. And that involves, arranging the right coalitions, generating some short-term wins, showing that it's impactful to the team members, and then having it become really ingrained with the culture of the sales team.